Hello everyone and welcome back to RM History. Today I'll be going over the different buildings used in steamship construction at Chatham Dockyard. Okay, so this model shows the different buildings and like what the dockyard looks like during around the early to mid 19th century. And you can kind of see like the different you can see like the different buildings like the smithery and Brunel's sawmill, which is pretty cool. So the first building that we're going to be talking about is the smitheries. So there was multiple smitheries, and this is number one smithery. And what they are is they're basically a big workshop that housed a bunch of blacksmiths. And as you can see from these pictures, they had very big, very heavy steam-powered machinery, and they would have had a lot of hot metal all over the place, and so it was a very dangerous environment. And massive steam hammers would have like crashed down on that scalding hot metal, and this would like change the metal shape and form sheets of metal for ships, and possibly also anchors and stuff like that. As you can see by these models here, it would have been very dangerous, dirty and hard work. So the next building is the boiler shops, and these would have been a very similar environment to the smithery. There would have been a lot of heavy duty steam powered tools all around. These tools would have been aiding the fabrication or repair of steam boilers and engines. I'm pretty sure it was mainly boilers though. Like the smithery, it would have been very dangerous, and in some cases, if you think about it, it would have been even more dangerous because boilers can explode, and these boiler shops would have been where they tested the boilers, and so yeah, they would have had. I'm not sure if they had any explosions at Chatham Dockyard in their boiler shops, but probably around the country there would have been some explosions in boiler shops. The boiler shop in the picture was built in the 1840s for Woolwich Dockyard, but following the closure of that dockyard, it was re-erected at Chatham Dockyard in the 1860s. And if you live in the area, it is now the Dockside Shopping Outlet Centre. Okay, yeah, so like I said in the last slide, boilers can explode, and the images show the aftermath of a boiler explosion at Chatham Dockyard. This wasn't in the boiler shop, but it would have been just as devastating. In the picture now is the machine shop. These were used to make and house machines, and these machines weren't only used on ships, but they were also used throughout the dockyard and in other dockyards. They would help build things like engines and boilers, but would also build things like steam-powered hammers used in the smithery, or large metal rollers used in metal mills, which we'll be speaking about next. Okay, so I don't have any pictures of the metal mill at Chatham, but the picture shows a large steam roller which would have been used in a metal mill. Metal mills primarily held the role of preparing metal by cutting or bending it into shape. The metal would then be sent to places like the smithery, where it would be turned into sheets of metal to be fitted onto a ship's hull, the boiler shop, where it would be turned into a boiler, or the machine shop, where it would be turned into a machine. This would have been where all the freshly bought metal would go, and it was one of the most important buildings in the dockyard. This picture again shows explosion in a metal mill, showing how dangerous it was to work in the dockyard at the time. Chatham Dockyard actually had a railway with working steam trains on it, and this would have been very useful for the time, as Chatham Dockyard was quite a large place, and getting materials, especially very heavy metal, from one side of the dockyard to the other would have taken ages by horse or by manpower. And so these trains would be very handy, considering they would have been much faster than any horse or man as well. So even though wood was being phased out of use in the Navy, rope was still used for many different things on a ship. And so for this reason, the ropery was still used frequently in the Victorian dockyard. The machinery was updated so the rope could be made even quicker. A new forming machine was built in 1811, making rope slightly easier to make. So the lead and paint mill, which is in the picture now, had a pretty self-explanatory name. It was used to make lead and paint and coat metal with lead and paint. While these seem like pretty different things, they were actually used for very similar reasons in the Victorian dockyard. Many steel holes were coated with lead so that they had a protective coating from things like rust and corrosion, and paint was also used as a protective coating. So this picture shows the capstan and pump maker's shop alongside the wheelwright's shop. These trades were some of the few trades that were used in both the Georgian and Victorian dockyards, hence why the buildings look much older than the rest. These buildings were used to create things like ship's wheels, any pumps on board a ship, and the ship's capstan. The joiner's shop would not have been used as much as it would have been during the Georgian days. This building mainly focused on the construction of things like wood, decking for a ship, or furniture for the messes. Overall though, it wasn't used anywhere near as much as it was used in wooden ship construction. The armour plate shop is where the armour for ships would have been made. This would have been a building with very heavy duty machinery, as thick pieces of metal were being shaped and prepared to be fitted onto ships. The galvanizing shop was where metal would be galvanized. Galvanizing is when a protective layer of zinc is coated on another piece of metal so that that piece of metal doesn't corrode or rust. The process includes dipping the metal in boiling hot zinc, so again it was a very dangerous place. The central boiler house is where many boilers would have been placed so that steam could be generated to power machines all throughout the dockyard. There were pipes above and below ground which would transport steam all around the dockyard. In case of fires, there was also a fire station at Chatham Dockyard, which was located near to the main entrance. This fire station would be there to fight fires anywhere in the dockyard, and it was all alone as well. So it had quite a large area to cover, and the dockyard would have had quite a few accidents. So it was probably quite stressful being a firefighter at Chatham Dockyard, especially during the Victorian period. Many more insignificant buildings are dotted around the dockyard. Here is an example of a forge. There is also an older forge located near the visitor entrance, and there was also quite a few storehouses around purely just for storage. Around the dockyard and the surrounding area there were many dry docks. These docks are where many ships were built in the Victorian era. Some ships were built on slipways, but dry docks were used much more because of how much easier the launch was. Getting to the later Victorian period though, and the Edwardian period, slipways were preferred much more. There is only one slipway that I know remains, but it is very neglected. When ships were built at Chatham Dockyard, the dry dock and slipway would have been very busy and almost never empty. There will almost always be a ship in there being built or getting a refit. The dry docks worked by closing a door at the end of the dry dock, which created a watertight seal, and then they would pump out all the water with a pump house. Pump house still survives and is now used as a distillery. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Follow me on my sources, and if you think I've missed any buildings, please tell me in the comments.